All right. Let's just start with Substance Matter. This video is going to be an intro to Substance Matter. The idea is to get you to be able to work on your own project. Basically, you are going to be able to run with Substance Matter. But before we can run, we learn to walk. And even before we can walk, we actually learn to crawl. That's why we're going to go over the interface very slowly and methodically. And then after that, when we are done with that stuff, we are going to start walking slowly and up to the point where we're going to be running so fast you will have the feeling you are flying in Painter. So why Substance Painter? Well, basically Substance Painter is a texturing tool. It's an industry standard. Substance Painter and Substance Designer are probably the main used tool today in AAA Studio to create texture, and as much as I know, it's also used in a lot of film studio. The big difference between Substance Painter and other tools for texturing like Mudbox, as an example, or Photoshop, is that you are not texturing with texture per se. You don't generate each channel at a time. You know, in the past, you will be painting your color map, then you will be painting your roughness map, then your specular map, and then maybe your reflection map. All of that, we don't care anymore. Because in Substance Painter, we are painting with material. Meaning, example, this sphere is basically gold that have been painted and some dirt on top of that, right? So now let's look a little bit into the main feature of Painter and the pure basic. Basically, the most important stuff in Substance Painter is going to be your layers here, like Photoshop. You remember, you guys probably use Photoshop. Everybody have used Photoshop in his life. The icons are very, very close to Photoshop, and they are going to be reminiscent of the feature of Photoshop. That's why for now, I'm going to create a fill layer. I'm going to kill this one. See, I have my layer stack here. And coming down here, I have access to the parameter of my PBR material. I have my color channel that I can turn off. I have my height channel, my roughness channel, my metal, and my normal. So let's go in the parameter of my fill layer. First, I can change the color, right? Then the roughness, I can also change the roughness. Being a PBR material, we have a roughness value from 0 to 1, 0 being super rough, 1 being super shiny. And then we also have the metallic, right? So, example for the roughness, I can drop whatever I want in there. And now I start to have variation in my roughness. Good. That is a fill layer, sorry. Now I can create also a paint layer, which is basically another layer type. The main difference on this one is that each brush stroke is going to be a different material. Example, roughness, super shine. Like you're going to be rough here. 1 stroke, 2 stroke. Then I can change my material to maybe here, and my metallic there, and then maybe my height here. And then the next one, my height is down, right? Okay. I'm going to explain to you later all those keys I'm using right now to navigate. But as you can see, each stroke can be a different material. Let's remove the metallic and let's put maybe some normal and going to be here, something like that, right? Good. So the main difference between a paint layer and a fill layer is that I can at any point in time come back to my fill layer and change any one of those attributes, right? Okay, can do here, be like, no, by the way, roughness, and by the way, you're metallic now, and then maybe you are shiny, and then I cannot do it on the paint layer because the paint layer is locked. It's done. It's 1 brush stroke, you are done. So those are the very important stuff to remember about the paint layer and the fill layer. So now I'm going to kill my paint layer, create another fill layer. That's going to be a red one. And now, like in Photoshop, I'm going to use a mask to reveal those layers because that's a fill layer, meaning I can come here, I can add a black mask or a white mask. In this case, I'm going to add the black mask. And using my brush, I can just go in and paint because I'm painting a white color. I can move my slider here to black, and it's going obviously to erase, but I'm not really erasing, I am masking. So I can also press the X key, which will allow me to swap between black and white. You can see it here. Here this is a preview of my shader or my material, and here it is a preview of my brush stroke. I have parameter here that we're going to talk about it later that will allow me to change the size of the brush, the intensity and stuff like that. So you guys see a lot of that, right? And you're going, what's going on? Well, the lighting in Substance Painter is generated by an IBL. Imagine a dome light like in V-Ray or in Redshift. So pressing the Shift key and the right mouse button, I can rotate my IBL, which allow me to get a different lighting situation, right? I'm going to tell you later how to swap between the different IBL. So, as for the mask, which I have here, one of the main features of Substance Painter is obviously that it's procedural. I can at any point in time select my mask, add a generator, and click any one of those, and already I get something nice. I can change the wear level, and all of those generators, basically what they are a procedural process that is based on the map that we did back at the beginning of each project. In the case of the sample, those maps are already back. Let's look at what they look like. But first, let's look at what constitutes the PBR material. I'm going to press the C key for channel. And right now I'm looking at my base color. This is my height. This is my roughness, my metallic, my normal plus height for the mesh. And I'm also going to press B, which is going to show me the different channels that have been baked. Wall space normal, ID, which we don't have, ambient occlusion, curvature, and position and thickness. And actually I'm going back to my regular view, pressing M for material. C for channel, M for material, B for bake, M for material. Okay? So, since we are talking about keys, how do I navigate? Well, fairly easy. Alt key and middle mouse button is going to allow me to shift up and down, right? Or slide. Alt plus right click is going to allow me to zoom back and forth. Alt plus left click allow me to rotate, right? So let's recap. C for channel, B for back, M for material. Shift right click for rotating my IBL. Alt left mouse button, Alt middle mouse, Alt right mouse. Since we are also talking about viewport keys, let us make sure to remember that we can use the Tab key to allow us to get a bigger interface. We can use the right click button to have access to different parameters. We are going to go later back to that. We can use F1 to have a dual view, which allows us to see 3D and 2D. F2 to be 3D only. F3 to be UV. When I'm on my UV, I can actually paint on my UV, right? I can come here, I can add a paint layer to my mask, and I can paint here in white, and it's exactly what's going to happen. Now if I look F2, F1, and I rotate, and I look here, as you can see, what I'm painting in 2D is going to be painted in the 3D view. So, let's go back to F1, F3. Okay. So, the key to navigate here is the same, right? It's Alt, middle mouse, Alt, right mouse, Alt, left mouse button. Okay? Going back to 3D. If you don't want to press the short key, you can grab it from the interface here. You're going to be like 3D, 3D, 3D only, 2Ds only, 3D, 2Ds. Let's go back to 3D only. So the next stuff we want to look into is also this one, perspective view and orthographic view. Orthographic is going to be flat. Because that object is not perfectly aligned, it's not going to work. But what you can do is Shift Alt, left mouse button, allow you to rotate your camera 90 degree. Perfect 90 degree. So perspective view, and I can rotate 90 degrees all the time, but my object is not perfectly aligned in the world anyway. And since we are on the camera, you get free rotation and constant rotation. Free rotation, basically wherever I click in the world is going to be the pivot point for my camera. Constant rotation is the center of my object or center of my scene. Okay, so I think at this point we can move to the next step, but before we do that, little recapitulative. C, 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 B for the back, M for the channel. Important. Tab, big interface, Alt, left mouse button, Alt, middle click, Alt, right mouse button. Okay, good. Let us move to the brush. Before we go to the brush, we need to make sure that we know where to grab the brush from, right? I can double click here, look at my paint, and I have an alpha, and I can change my alpha to whatever I want. Here, maybe I can grab this one. It's going to be my brush. I can also start to play with the spacing, as you can see here. I can maybe change that to something more interesting. Brush, let's grab this one. And we can move the different parameters, the size jitter, the flow jitter, the angle jitter, the position jitter, and we can do all of that in that little window, and we can save the brush, or we can just go to the shelf, which is here, and look into the brush and see what do they have to offer. Obviously, we can save our own brush, right? Right now I did select a new brush, see another brush, and so on and so forth. And because I'm using a paint layer, at any point in time, I can come and change those settings. So now let's take that down. A very interesting aspect from Substance Painter is also the fact that it is resolution independent. Example, I go to my texture set setting. This is where we have all our back. I'm going to go more in depth later. And here, I can change the resolution to 512, and you're going to be like, yeah, whatever, you just did de-erase the object, no big deal. Well, but guess what? Maybe I'm going to paint now here, somewhere here. Here, let's go here and say, up on this one, right? It's very low res, but look, if I come here 248, then it's going to appraise to exactly what I did paint. I'm going to paint here super low res, and then I can come in and raise up. And I think that's quite interesting and powerful. So since we are on the brush tab, let's look into here. We have obviously an eraser. I can erase my mask, which is the same as if I painted black, right? But I might also want to create a new layer, add a paint, and then just paint it black. And I did not really erase it because if I come here, it's still there. But the eraser is going to make it go away. So I'm going to kill this one. Like in Photoshop, you have multiple transfer mode. You can change them until you find the one you like. Here, maybe this one, and then you can even take it down. Let's put it back to normal. When you use Painter, think an item of Photoshop. It's going to save your life. Super easy. If you don't know to do something, just ask yourself, how will I do it in Photoshop? And in 90% of the case, it's going to be working out for you. So I have a clone button. Click here, and I can paint here, exactly like in Photoshop. Clone absolute, which I don't really use the clone myself. But this one is going to copy everything. And, the smudge. This one can be quite useful sometimes, especially if you're doing unpainted style stuff. Look, I'm going to smudge everything here. On that lower layer. Actually, I can only do it on the paint layer because the paint layer is the one that is generated with the brush stroke. The other one is based on the underlying texture that are part of the bake. So that's for the brush, right? Now, another way to work with mask, let's do another paint, add a paint layer. And I can select actually my geometry. I can select per triangle, not very effective, very slow. I can select per polygon, a little bit better. I can also draw a drag, right? And I can select per object, much better. Meaning per object, it's not going to be like what you have in your scene, it's going to be any polygon that are physically attached to each other. So, but I can also select per UV. Example here, I'm going to be going back to white, and I can perfectly select what I want. Per UV pieces. I'm going to show you a little trick later when we change the bake, okay? So, the next stuff we want to talk about might be those two little buttons. One, this one is going to open for you Substance Share from Allegorithmic. It's a webpage where you can download a lot of stuff for free. But the one I use the most is obviously this one, because this one is going to take me straight up to Substance Source, which allow me to choose whatever material I want. Example here, I'm going to grab, let's see, ceramic. I'm going to click. And now if I look there, I get all the channels that constitute my material. Remember the C key to go through the color, the normal, the roughness, the metallic, and the height. Well, here we have them, meaning we can scrutinize those materials even before we download them. Some of those are pure scan, some of those are procedural, meaning they allow you to change some stuff on the fly. It's quite nice. So